Testing there. Whoa. One more time. Thank you, Tony. Welcome, everyone, to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District for Tuesday, January 20, 2026. Would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We welcome all of you here today. We have a number of distinguished guests. Yes. And we appreciate you being here. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Vice President Mateo.
Here.
Director Keelhold.
Here.
Director Longville.
Here.
Director Velasquez.
Present.
And President Harrison.
Here.
We have a quorum. The board is present.
Thank you, sir. Next is our public comment period, and any members of the public that wish to address the board may do so. There's a 3-minute limit. And do we have any indication from anyone online or in the room that they would like to speak?
Mr. President, I just need to read this real quick. Members of the public may address the board regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. However, no action may be taken off the agenda items except as authorized by law. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. At this time, Mr. President, I have not received any requests to speak. To the public that's present online and in person, if you wish to provide a public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized.
Seeing no hands, we will move ahead with our consent calendar. What is your pleasure?
I'll move items 2.1 and 2.2 for approval.
Well, second.
A point of order, sir, is the 2.1, is our current rep Wen? Okay, then
Yes, sir, it is.
we're going to keep that the same. Okay,
Yes, we're keeping
okay,
that.
perfect. Sorry, that was it.
All right. We have a motion and second, Mr. Clerk.
Director Keelhold.
Yes.
Director Velasquez.
Yes.
Director Longville.
Yes.
Vice President Boteo.
Yes,
And President Harrison.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
Thank you very much. At this point, we have a presentation that we will start with our Executive Director, Heather Dyer.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. It is my honor today to present President Melody McDonald from the Aqua JPIA, who is our insurance carrier. And we're happy to have her here today in person, which is, we're fortunate that we live nearby you. And so you're in our area. And thank you so much for coming today, Melody, to give this award to the board. Thank you. Yes.
Welcome, Melody. We're glad you're here and all of your board.
We are all here, yes.
You're wearing 2 presidential hats today.
I am.
Yes, you are.
I certainly am. So good afternoon, President Harrison and Vice President Boteo and the other directors who I've known so very long. I want to tell you, it is an extreme honor to be here and present this award to you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background, but the one thing I will have to say, this is actually the first time I've been asked to present this in person. And it was such an honor to be asked that because no greater sister agency would I want to, well, there's a lot of great sister agencies out there, but my point is, it's you guys. It's you all. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, but a little background here. Each year at the fall membership summit, JPIA recognizes those members that have a loss ratio of 20% or less in the liability, property, and workers' comp program. The data for this year's calculation is for a 3-year period from 21 to 25 as of September of 2025. And we so wholeheartedly appreciate the efforts that the district is investing in their risk management programs, The award reflects their efforts are ensuring that they are high performer of the JPIA's liability and property program and are bringing limited losses to the pool. This in turn ensures that all members of these programs can continue to experience stable and affordable rates and helps position for the pool positive future renewals, which keeps costs down for everyone. So well done to you all. A little bit more background. And you've been a member here with JPIA actually since 2012. And that's when JPIA took over Aqua Employee Benefits when you came over. You were in our employee benefits program. You joined us in 2021. And I want to say, I remember when you were going through that and I'd get the letters and I'd hear the comments from you. It was an exciting thing because there was a whole look about it. And I know Milford has been a real proponent of the JPIA and what it has. And it's just, there's nothing else like it. And also I want to recognize right now Miss Cindy Sachs because she sits on and thank you. Thank you for allowing her to come and serve with us on our Finance and Admin Committee. She's an extremely important, just a wonderful person to be up there and smart. I mean, that's what we do on our finance and we get all the smart people up there, really smart in finances. So I also want to recognize your staff because it's all of you of your staff that makes this possible and keeping your losses down. So, and lastly, I could not be up here if we didn't talk about this word called EMOD. Your EMOD is your experience modification. You've got a very good EMOD. That's why your rates are going to stay low. When you don't have claims, your EMOD is right there or less, and it keeps it down. Once their claims start up, then the EMOD gets a little crazy and it's not a lot of fun. But so big congratulations to all of you. And if I could, I have 2 awards to present to you for performance in our liability program, maintaining exceptionally low cost for the 10-21 to 24 years, and also in the property program, the same period, 7/1 of 21 to 6/30 of 2024. So if you could want to come down and get a picture.
Well,
I'll definitely hold it. Hold that one. And here, this one. You guys hold this one. Come on in. Get in here. Where's the? You put it in the middle.
there, I'm gonna take it to you. Ready? Ready?
Thank you.
I also want to express my appreciation to Heather and Cindy as we moved into JPIA a few years ago. I was pushing pretty hard for a while, and I think we've all seen the benefits of JPIA, and we do sing the praises of JPIA because they have been a wonderful partner for us as we have moved ahead. And we thank you for this presentation. Thank you for this award. And we look forward to getting more in the future. Thank you.
Through the
And-
chair.
And I didn't have a chance to say hello to our other general manager in the room. I didn't realize until just now that after you got up, I realized that Betsy Miller is here, the general manager from the San Bernardino Valley Conservation District, where I started my career in water. Glad to have you here, Betsy, and I see a few of your board members also. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Melody, I wanted to let you know that when I first joined the board, one of the first items that I voted on was the JPIA, and you presented and you were very passionate. I remember that like it was yesterday, and I just wanted to say I didn't fully understand the the scope of what you were presenting, but I never forget the passion. So I want to thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you and an honor to have you here today, and your colleagues and your general manager. Thank you.
All right. Did you care to say anything more, Heather? Or are we on the?
No, I just want to express my appreciation for Melody and her leadership with the Aqua JPIA, the insurance pool, that if we all work together, we can keep our rates low. It brings tremendous value to our agency, and we're happy to be part of it.
Great. All right, moving on our agenda to our discussion and possible action items. The first one being item 4.1 is the groundwater recharge operation summary. This is found on page 18 of our agenda and will be brought to us by Mike Esker. There he is. Welcome. We don't get to see you here very often.
Yeah, well.
And a tie, no less.
There.
You keep very busy out there.
Well, and I'd like to thank the board for President Harrison and Vice President Boteo and all the esteemed board members for allowing me this feel-good moment, really, that I get to report on something that really is a great for the entire area, regional area. And so, and by no means I'm just a small little cog in all the people that really make this happen. So today I get to report to you the 2025 groundwater recharge summary. And in that, we actually roughly gave or provided over 30,000 acre feet of state water project for recharge in the Bunker Hill Basin. Another 5,700, little over 5,700 feet of recharge in the Yucaipa Basin, and 2,500 acre feet of water in the Rialto Colton Basin. And I'll get into that one a little bit earlier. In order to recharge that amount of state water project, though, we really do rely on our partners, a water conservation district in particular for the use of the Santa Ana Enhanced Recharge 1B basins. Betsy Miller and her staff, I think I saw Manuel and Tommy, almost on a daily, regimen. I'm coordinating with Manuel or Tommy. It's all about getting as much water, both locally and state project, in the ground. And that is the largest collective set of basins. So they do a tremendous job. We deliver the water. They put it in the ground. They maintain those basins. Along with that, San Bernardino County Flood Control, they maintain a couple more sets of basins and really coordinate closely with us. So again, we can maximize the amount of state water project in the Waterman basins, Waterman Twin Creek basins, and the Yucaipa, Wilson Creek, and Oak Glen basins. And then a special shout out to Yucaipa Valley Water District and Fontana. They're always great partners. Every year they really buy into this idea of always putting water in the ground when it's available to keep those the groundwater basins full. So it really is a linchpin to much of our water resilience here in the San Bernardino Valley. And so each year this year in particular, a lot of close coordination again with Yucaipa Valley and Fontana. On top of that, it's amazing that we had almost 38,000 acre feet of state water project water, but we were also able to put in from our water rights, Santa Ana River extraction water rights, another 4,700 acre feet, and I'll get into that a little bit later in a couple slides. And with all that going on, our operations staff were still able to deliver another almost 27,000 acre feet of direct delivery to water treatment plants. So we've got water flowing in all kinds of directions. And again, to all the water agencies that buy the water and to put it in the ground, San Bernardino Municipal Water District, Redlands, West Valley, Rialto, Riverside Highland, Bear Valley, Yucaipa Valley, East Valley, Fontana Water Company, South Mesa, and this year's San Gorgonio Pass Water Agency. Shout out to them because again, it's not free, and they're backing this idea of keeping the groundwater basins in the San Bernardino Valley high for drought resilience. Along with that, another shout out to our planning, water planning group, because you got to incentivize this stuff, and they come up with all kinds of great programs that entice these water sales through the 2025 storage and exchange plan, the baseline feeder replenishment obligation, the Fontana settlement agreement, the Sterling Natural Resource Center settlement agreement by San Bernardino, and then the San Bernardino Basin Groundwater Council. So Michael and his staff are doing a great job of keeping track of all that. Along with that, we'll get into more of the specifics of where the water, how we recharged it and where it went. Next slide. So this year we had what you see up here is this is actually Wilson Basin full of water perking in. You have at Mill Creek, we spread 1,074 acre feet of water, state project water, through our ZT turnout. At the Santa Ana River, we spread another 10,000, or delivered, I should say, another 10,121 acre feet of water. Those two combined, we couldn't have done without the direct involvement and management of the basins of by the Water Conservation District. So that's what I'm talking about. 11,000 acre feet of water right there. Close coordination, and I appreciate all the efforts that the Water Conservation District provide daily to allow us these kind of numbers of groundwater. At Sweetwater, 46, almost 4,700 acre feet. Waterman, 14,700, roughly 700 acre feet of water. In Wilson Creek, another 5,115 acre feet of water. And then Oak Glen Creek, 638. The last four there are all basins managed and maintained by Flood Control District. This year we coordinated pretty closely with them as far as when they were getting into trying to do the cleaning, trying to extend the percolation period even during the start of the rain season. So it allowed us to put in these kind of numbers. And then the last one is an interesting one. Rialto Colton groundwater basin, that 2,500 acre feet, that's called an in lieu. So basically we delivered to the Fontana Water Company Summit plant 2,500 acre feet of water that they processed and delivered. And then in exchange, then they did not pump out of the ground that 2,500 acre feet. So by default, it's like we're putting in 2,500 acre feet. It's the inoptimal way to do that in that part of the world. And so we appreciate that. Next slide. So I want to go over basically this slide a little bit. Just gives you geographically where they're all these things are located. So if we start way to the left of the projector here, or the screen, you'll see down at the bottom left, that's the 2,500. That's the plant where we're delivering it to. It's in the Rialto Colton side of the groundwater basin. Then straight up, if you go straight north, you see Sweetwater there. We delivered almost 4,700 to the north. That's a lot of that is almost all purchased by San Bernardino Municipal Water District or Department, excuse me. It's in the Bunker Hill Basin. The purple lines, I call them purple, but the purple lines you hear, that's this part of the screen is the Bunker Hill Basin. That lower left, that's the beginning of the Rialto Colton Basin. And up here, bottom right is the Yucaipa Basin, sub-basin. So give you an idea of why those are up there and how we're recharging in three different basins. Then as we move east, you see the most amount of state water project we provided this year was 14,667 acre feet for groundwater recharge in the Waterman East Twin Creek. Partly that also, a lot of that went through our hydro facility. So we're generating power, and both our district and San Bernardino Municipal Water Department are making, getting power benefits from that. Then as you go west, we're at the two largest sets of basins in the Bunker Hill Basin, again, managed and operated by Water Conservation District. So there's little typos here on the screen, unfortunately. One of the things of last minute changes, if you excuse me, but the number you see under State Water Project, that's the entirety of how much we delivered there for groundwater recharge, both our river diversion, which was 4,706 acre feet of river diversion under our water rights. Again, that's managed by Water Conservation District. And then we delivered actually 10,121 acre feet of state water project there. On top of that, I believe Water Conservation District also put another 9,800 acre feet, a little over 9,800 acre feet of local groundwater recharge. So you can see in that basin alone, a tremendous amount of recharge went in to do that. And that's great news. We're using the new basins. They're doing a good job operating them, getting them clean so they stay effective. And that was the Santa Ana spreading basins. Then you move over, and not as much, but it was kind of more of a pilot to see how it would work. Water Conservation District was cleaning them. I had asked Manuel if I could put some water there because we had a lot of late comers to the table as far as trying to put groundwater in the ground at the end of the year. So I needed some places. So he worked with me, and we snuck in a little over 1,000 acre feet in the Mill Creek basins out of our ZT turnout of State Water Project. And then finally to the far west or bottom right of your screen, you see the Oak Glen and Wilson basins. That's all water that is paid for by Yucaipa Valley Water District. And we deliver it to those basins. These are interesting basins. Is the flood control actually lets us control the gates at the basins in between the water recharge basins. So it's one of the few places where they let us put our hand on the wheel, if you will, and steer a little bit. You saw we put 5,100 acre feet there. And then the 600 acre feet, interestingly enough, goes through a bypass past the water treatment plant for Yucaipa Valley and into Oak Glen. And we put a little water there toward the end of the year. So all collectively, that is our both state water and local water diversions that we put in. You can see here, the local water diversions, again, touched on it. Conservation District was able to put in 9,821 acre feet of local water, Santa Ana River water in the ground. And we were able to then take advantage of our water rights after theirs and put in another 4,700 or they put in 4,706 acre feet of water in the ground for us, for a total of 14,000 of local water at the 1B Santa Ana River 1B basins. And that pretty much concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mike. Are there any comments or questions? All right,
Just one comment.
Susan.
Remarkable accomplishment. And, thanks to our good planning and joint projects, but also, we're blessed, to be on this alluvial floodplain where recharge is an expertise we have because of the geomorphology. So an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I even more than I recall from reports throughout the year.
Thanks.
All right, Gil.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that presentation. I think the thing that screams out to me is the coordination and the regional effort. And I think it's safe to say that Conservation District throughout this recharge effort has been the glue that has really kept, this valley working hard in terms of doing what Valley District was created to do, put water in the ground. So that it's really warms our heart, and not only because they're in the room, but it's just a great, it's a great collaboration. And so hearing it all at once is just a testament to both agencies and our retail agencies having the best and the brightest. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Yes, Paul?
I would also like us to keep in mind all of our predecessors that have come before us. I mean, these ideas that we're taking advantage of at this time are not our ideas necessarily. Some of these things have been worked on by the agencies for decades, and they're paid for by the taxpayers who put forward millions of dollars. So there's a great collaborative effort among everyone to make these accomplishments happen.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mike, this is a great presentation, and it's just so gratifying to see how the cooperation with the Conservation District has produced such great results. And thank you and Wen, and because Wen's involved in a little bit of this too, I think. I see his fingers in there somewhere. And definitely want to thank the Conservation District, our partner in this. And I heard that Manny was in the room. And I just want you to know that Manny is one of my personal heroes. He's one of the first persons that I saw when I first walked into the Conservation District. And I recognized him immediately because he was the one that had my granddaughter's life in his hands at the Redlands Y Circus as she progressed through the years and ended up 30 feet in the air hanging by her toes from a trapeze. And he was the one that manned the rope that kept her safe. And you can't do anything better for me than take care of my granddaughter. Thank you, Manny. And thank you for the years of friendship over this, starting in the Conservation District. And we keep going. We really appreciate what you and Tommy do out there. Heather.
I have a fun question for Mike. I tried to calculate how many about 66,000 acre feet is in gallons, but my calculator doesn't go up that high.
A lot.
So I'm not going to make you do the math, but can you put into context for normal people who don't dream about water, about how much is 66,000 acre feet worth of water?
So to put it this way, 66,000 acre feet is roughly almost 190,000 a little over 190,000 households of
For a year.
for a year.
For a year.
So if you take that and divide or multiply by 4, you're well into a big number, millions of, 500,000, 3/4 or 2/3 of a million people.
Mhm.
We have put enough water in the ground to serve them for a year. That's with no other sources.
Fantastic. And that's what both agencies do. And we love what we do and we're so happy to and proud to provide that for our 700,000 people that reside in this valley. Thank you again, Conservation District, for your partnership. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who would like to make any comments? Manny, you have anything to say? Okay. You're my hero. You can say anything you want. All right. We'll move on then in our agenda to our discussion item 4.2. And this is the status update on the partnership agreement for joint active recharge project in development. And this is found on page 20 of our agenda and be brought to us by our Chief Operating Officer and our Chief Engineer.
Thank you,
Ben?
President Harrison and members of the board. Good afternoon. It is my honor to introduce this item about the partnership agreement for joint active recharge project development. You may remember back in 2019, the board directors approved a partnership agreement with the San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District. And, this project is for Conservation District to take the lead on development of the what we call joint active recharge projects, now have been rebranded to a program for the expansion of recharge capacity, or PERC. So basically, this project is, is to capture stormwater within our service area using the water rights that we jointly obtained with the Western Municipal Water District back in 2010. And we are trying to apply that to other tributary of the Santa Ana River so we can capture additional local runoff, and that will help to provide the regional water supply reliability. And as part of the partnership agreement, PERC policy committee was formed, and we have a couple representatives from our side, including Director Longville and Heather, those two are our representative. And in addition to that, I also want to get credit to a few staff that involved, including Leo and Joanna and Mike, and they have been participating in these discussions on and off and help Conservation District to move forward with the project. So recently, Conservation District had reached a milestone, and they finished the feasibility study, and they are here to give the board a quick update on where they are and where we are going with this. So with that, I will introduce Betsy Miller, San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District General Manager, and her staff. I'm sorry.
Good
Welcome,
afternoon.
Betsy.
Thank you to
Yeah.
President Harrison and our directors. We are truly thrilled to be here today to present this update. The feasibility study, in large part, was approved by the PERC Policy Committee late last year. So we're presenting here today, and we'll also have a presentation to our board of directors next week. Tom Crowley is here.
You mean that guy from Rialto is here?
He tried to retire and we snatched him right up. So he will be leading the presentation for us today. I would also like to introduce Jason Wolf. He is our new principal engineer at the Conservation District.
Welcome.
We are thrilled to have him. And as I've mentioned to Heather and Wen and Leo separately, I am so grateful for this agency's support during the period while we were recruiting for Jason's position. There were quite a few months there And Wen and Leo let me ask them questions, sat on an interview panel with us, and just really supported us in the way that partner agencies do. So we appreciate that, and we're glad to not have to bother you quite so much anymore. But your willingness and you're just they were just totally willing to share all of their expertise with us.
Great.
So we did change the name when mentioned that Heather and I couldn't handle ARTP. We couldn't handle doing any more press releases that said ARTP. So with the blessing of the PERC Policy Committee, we developed the branding, and that was blessed by the Policy Committee. So, Tom?
Thank you.
Welcome, Tom.
Thank
Glad
you very
you're here.
much. I'm in a new role, and I've kind of circled all the way back around to the Conservation District. I had started at the Conservation District in February of 2000.
Wow.
And back in those days, and I'm going to kind of dove off of what you said, is how we're all cooperating together. Back in those days, it was not easy. Groundwater recharge was not necessarily a good word. It was something that was very difficult to accomplish solely by the Conservation District. And then, you know, as we progressed through the Integrated Regional Urban Water Management Plan planning, the grants that we all got together, we really kind of refocused our efforts on what can we do to optimize this basin. And definitely the fruits of what you are doing as a board and what the Conservation District is doing as a board is the fruits of all the generations that kind of came over the last 25, 26 years that have really kind of set the foundation to what we're doing. And I think you're at another cusp of moving things forward even more greatly. Mike's presentation kind of says, this is what we're doing with all of the current basins that we've got. Now we're on the next step of what can we do to increase that number, that locations, and to increase the ability to put more water in the basin when it's available, because we all know it can come feast or famine, and there could be dry years in between, but there could be big wet years, and we need to capitalize on those as much as we can. So kudos to what they're doing today, and kudos to what I'm going to present today, which is the program for expansion of recharge capacity. We can go to the next slide, please. Or can I do that? Okay. Oh, there we go. Go backwards. Back one. There we go. Thank you. So, of course, the Conservation District has three main mission goals that they have always worked toward, which is the groundwater recharge, and then obviously the natural resource stewardship. When I started, the natural resource stewardship was just getting started with the Conservation District with all the endangered species. And now it is a fully staffed group of people that are really working hard at all the natural resources that are occurring at the Conservation District. And of course, the historical Big Bear Water Master component that the Conservation District is a part of. The presentation is going to look at the partnerships, the PERC agreements and governance that was put together, the PERC overview, which is the tributaries and the sites and the alternatives that were studied by all the team and folks that came before, and then the planning status and next steps. After we've gotten to this phase in the project, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do with the feasibility studies? What is the data summary and the next steps that we're going to do? And then, of course, we'll answer any questions. You know, I want to acknowledge there has been a collective effort of individuals and agencies over the last 70 years since the beginning of the agreement between Valley District and the Conservation District. And I want to give special thanks to all the team members and staff that have gone through the process, even before I started coming in and helping the Conservation District get across this finish line. Of course, San Bernardino Valley Water Conservation District, Betsy, the staff that has kind of moved on from the conservation, Irwin and Kathy Schultz. And then, of course, John Lambie, who really kind of did a big heavy lift in there to kind of get things moving along, get all the studies completed. And then Maria and myself that kind of put all the packages together to kind of put a conclusion to it. Over on the Valley District side, Heather, Wynn, Leo, and Joanna Gibson, and Greg Herzog, that all helped heavily on that. That was very, very helpful. Of course, Western Municipal Water District and their partners, Riverside Utilities, Public Utilities, and then Elsinore Valley Water District has been very helpful. And of course, we have the Flood Control District, City of San Bernardino, and the Bureau of Land Management that really kind of assisted. There were three consulting teams that really kind of helped anchor all the work that was done. Tetra Tech was one of the large consulting teams that got one of the tributaries. Cask Engineering got one of the tributaries, and Q3 got one of the tributaries. So we'll talk a little bit more about their work and efforts. The main agreements that were put into place was a cost sharing agreement between Valley District and Western Municipal Water District, which kind of set on how they were going to share the cost of development of some of these recharge projects, and mostly from a planning standpoint early on. Obviously, they were going to share it based upon their water rights levels that they had in the additional conservation that was going to take place in all of these projects. So that was one of the initial agreements. The third one down, which was an agreement between San Bernardino, the Water Conservation District, and the County Flood Control. That was primarily to get the county involved and looking at all the different alternatives. Without them involved, once you get your alternatives done and you present them, usually it doesn't go very well. So you got to get them done in the process while you're going through the process. So this memorandum really kind of set the stage. It gave primacy, I think, to flood control's operations, but it also allowed the team to focus on what is it that we can do outside of those periods of time, and what can we do to improve the facilities that would be flood control facilities that we were looking at and improving. And of course, the second one down, which is the partnership agreement between the Conservation District and Valley District, which entered into of January 2019. This 5-year agreement created an essential partnership between the agencies, providing conservation easements on the Conservation District-owned lands to satisfy anticipated habitat mitigation requirements for the HCP in exchange of approximately $36 million. So that big partnership and that funding of those conservation easements really kind of set the financial ability for the Conservation District to really push this along. So kudos to that piece of it. The agreement specified certain planned activities. And of course, they turned those potential activities over to the Conservation District to basically move the projects along. So these agreements transferred the projects, as we all know, the ARTP, and now we're moving into the PRC, which is PERC. And I think that was a very big effort for that to take place. The First Amendment was really given more time to the agreement, taking it out to 2029. And the Third Amendment was really, in the original agreement, they had the Groundwater Council. Well, we all know the Groundwater Council kind of went away, and we still wanted a representative of the regional area. So they initiated that amendment to be the BTAC at that point, which was one of the groups of individuals that were always being a part of the basin, looking at technical solutions for the basin. So that allowed that to take place. So those are the main agreements that really kind of anchor the process for PERC. But of course, we couldn't do this without the policy committee, which is made up of Director Canay, Director Lonville, Betsy as general manager, Heather as general manager, and then also Ryan Shaw, who is the representative for the Basin Technical Advisory Committee. Coming to them on every 4 weeks, 4 months, getting direction by the team, filtering up information, making sure that we're doing everything the way we should be doing it, and making sure that the policies are going to be met long-term was a big help with the policy committee. And having that as part of the process, the governance, was a key point. So the project overview. Initially, the Conservation District identified a total 8 possible sites for new groundwater recharge consisting of the following PERC alternatives. New basins, where could we do new basins? Where could we do existing flood control stormwater basins and revamp them to be useful for groundwater recharge? And of course, looking at the Conservation District existing basins, both in Santa Ana and Mill Creek. The final projects elevated the feasibility study of 10 alternatives in 3 different watersheds and 6 different locations. So with that, this is a kind of a geospatial map of the locations. The upper right corner is the Waterman or the East Twin watershed. There were 3 project locations there: Waterman, East Twin, and Linwood. Here in the this area, which is the Plunge Creek area, there was a project called Oak Creek, and then the 2 alternatives that were identified for the Plunge Creek alternatives. And the last one being in this area of the Mill Creek is looking at the alternatives of what we could do to improve the Mill Creek recharge capacities. So this is just kind of seeing the geospatial across the upper Santa Ana watershed or the San Bernardino Basin area, partially in Bunker Hill B, or Bunker Hill A, and then, kind of see what would be the benefits of those projects with respect to the geography. So in the first watershed, East Twin, we had Waterman Recharge Basin. Waterman is a pretty extensive recharge basin area, which is we're currently recharging, but the goal was to look at how can we grade it differently, create more basins, and route the water more efficiently through so that we could get greater recharge capacity. The other was East Twin, and there were 2 2 grading operations, a small one and a larger one that was looked at. So 2 separate projects. And then, of course, the Linwood Recharge Basin, which was downstream of the East Twin, which also has some impact to the city of San Bernardino, and their involvement was also being looked at what they could do operationally to increase groundwater recharge in those areas. The next being Plunge Creek. Oak Creek would be a completely new recharge. It would be, the basins would be south of Green Spot Road, adjacent to Valley District's Foothill Pump Station location. And that's on land owned by Valley District, and it would take Oak Creek water and bring it down and do recharge adjacent to the Conservation District spreading grounds. And then there were 2 options that we're looking at Plunge Creek, both on BLM land that would be exchanged to the Conservation District that were identified for areas for mining. But prior to the mining operation going in that area, there could be an interim construction alternate. And then when the mining operations begin in 10, 15 years, you could have them mine that area and then come back and do an ultimate configuration in that area. So they were looking at that as an interim and a ultimate condition. Again, this would be land owned by the Conservation District. The last site is the Mill Creek, which is the existing Mill Creek situation out in Mentone. It is south of the Santa Ana Mill Creek and Santa Ana River confluence. There they looked at 3 alternatives. Alternative 1 would construct new desilting basins, 1 through 5, and build a large canal after the diversion all the way down the south side of the spreading grounds to be able to more effectively and efficiently deliver water to all of the 55 basins that they have in that area. 55 or 56? We'll go with 55. But that was to help visit. So alternate 2 was to add on to alternate 1. So if you wanted to do alternate 2, you'd have to do alternate 1. But alternate 2 was adding some more additional spreading ponds in another specific area of the basins and reconfiguring a couple others. And then alternate 3 would be even adding more basins. So the idea is to look at that and to see what would be the cost-effective scale of going all the way to alternate 3. So that was that one. So now the next step is the planning process and the steps that we went through. And then we'll talk a little bit about the numbers and then what are our next steps? So the technical study set the stage to compare the merits of the alternatives. I mean, that was the challenge that most of these teams do. You could do all these studies and everything, but how do you begin to even compare them to each other? And so the data that was going to be gathered in the PERC alternative was going to be normal data that you would do on every one of the sites, all 10 alternatives. You would look at the geotechnical, you would look at the watershed hydrology, you would look at the water sources to them, you would look at the configurations, construction costs, social, economical impacts. A lot of different factors would go into and be a common theme that you would evaluate against each other so that you could get to a priority list or at least a ranking. So what this project does, it does a ranking based upon all these factors. Priority is another thing. That is where people have personal differences on which priority they want to put their money behind or their efforts behind. But right now, what this did was to go through the process and come up with a technical, qualitative approach to how they fared against each other, okay? There were two other water sources to all of these projects that we were looking at. One of them was the local site hydrology. What is coming down the streams that we are looking at referring to? Another one was to look at the regulated runoff from the upper Santa Ana River of the flood control pool behind Seven Oaks Dam. And that is being currently looked at, called the Forecast Informed Reservoir Operations Program with the Army Corps and the University of San Diego, University of California, San Diego, called the FURO hydrology. What additional water can the Seven Oaks Dam generate to be able to be as another source to our recharge activities going on? There were three that would get direct deliveries: Waterman, Mill Creek, and I think Oak Creek. The other three project areas could be an exchange or something that would get water to those projects without actually getting FURO water in that thing. So right now we have completed volumes 2, 3, and 4, and of course volume 1, but volumes 2, 3, and 4 pretty much take all the technical documents and we synthesize it down to a readable volume for that particular project. And we really want to thank the policy committee for going through all the reviews and staff going through all the reviews to help us make it a readable document that kind of was consistent pattern through each one of those volumes so that you could read and begin to compare or at least visualize how you were going to compare between those documents. And these were volumes 2. So volume 2 was Tetra Tech did the initial technical documents, geotechnical reports, preliminary design reports, and all of the information that goes up to it. And then Maria, myself, and John Lambie worked it very hard at creating these volumes for each one. Volume 3, which is Plunge Creek, was done by Cask Engineering, and Volume 4 was done by Q3, all the technical documents. And then we compiled all those to a readable document. Now, Volume 1 then takes Volumes 2, 3, and 4 and tries to compare them in a kind of an executive summary. And so if you really want to get a good handle on what PERC is all about, read Volume 1. Now, if you really want to get deep into it, read each volume accordingly. There you go. So those were the volumes and stuff, and those are all completed and finalized and available. So if anybody wants a copy, contact the Conservation District and we'll get you the most latest version that we have. So now this is a table, and you probably have it in front of you, that kind of begins to compare a couple aspects that we threw up, which I think are kind of important ones. But before we get there, I want to say that the Conservation District developed what we call a multiple objective decision support system. But it's also based upon a multiple account analysis. A lot of words, a lot of information. How do you go through, and there's this spreadsheet that's in the document, and you'll find it in Volume 1, is of all of the 5 accounts or areas that we evaluated: groundwater recharge aspect, cost aspect, other technical aspects, social aspects, and legal aspects. And each one of those aspects had sub-accounts in them. And then they all got valued numbers, and then they all then totaled up to a comparative number. So I believe this chart is ranked in order of 1 through 10 of the 10 project locations. You can see that number 1 isn't necessarily the cheapest project, but it is it was the highest priority project, or I would say it was valued as the number 1 project, not necessarily the highest priority. But you can see as you go through, there's the cost, and that is today's net present value. One of the other things that is very interested in the agencies is what additional groundwater acre feet per year can we get into the ground if we do this project? We spend this money, what do we gain? And at this point, that would be what I would consider, from the base recharge that goes on currently today to what if we did this project, what additional recharge could we get into these projects? And then, of course, what is the increase in CFS that we would be doing? And there were a lot of other parameters that were evaluated to each other, but these are the kind of 3 that we wanted to kind of show you by numbers. So then we have moved kind of to the next steps, and we've been working with the PERC Policy Committee to do that. So currently, the PERC Policy Committee kind of directed us to go ahead and apply for a USBR small storage grant program to help pay for 25% of the design and construction of Oak Creek. It was the number 1 ranked project, but we decided that we could go, and it fit the Bureau's description of this program the best. So staff has been authorized with WSC to do the initial feasibility study in USBR language, and then that will go to them here in April, I believe, not April, I mean February, and for them to start reviewing, and then eventually maybe getting some additional funds from the Bureau of Rec for the Oak Creek. Mill Creek, Q3 was already authorized to do the 65%, or at least they had a budget to do it. So now we have been authorized to move forward on Mill Creek to do alternate 3. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to build alternate 3, but we're going to go through the 65% design on alternate 3 for Mill Creek. And then Linwood Recharge Alternative, which was I believe was the number 1, is to look at doing the 65% RFP on that one and get that project going. And then we're going to continue to meet with the additional stakeholder project preferences and start re-looking at which ones do we want to do first. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Tom. Are there questions? Susan, yes.
A request, and I direct this at Wen, because certainly, PERC, what PERC can do is going to help San Bernardino, our district, and Western in perfecting our water rights. And obviously, that is the highest priority. It's something we've worked on for decades. Can you talk? Can you provide a perspective on how you and Western are evaluating these projects, and in terms of what investments both of us parties would make in addition to the actual construction of these projects?
Yeah, thank you, Director Longville. So when it comes to our water rights, there's a Western judgment implication. So one of the things that, as part of the discussion that was shared with the Conservation District staff, is in addition to the analysis that they have done so far, basically figure out how much water can be captured at each location. We want them to do to take it to the next step, which is help us identify what is new conservation, right? So because that number is very important, and it kind of help Western to figure out whether or not this project will be cost effective for them to pursue. So that's one thing that that we're working together. Westland is around the table along with the conservation district that we wanted to, kind of use the tools, probably like a groundwater modeling to help us to identify what is new conservation. And then from there, that will be easier for Westland to make a business case. We know which project makes most sense to them, and then so they can move forward with them. And that's the way that their partner are also looking at that too. Including Riverside Public Utilities and Mix and Daily and all that, the other plaintiff parties. That's the number they will be looking at.
And on our side, our board of directors will be examining these projects in terms of investments that they support. And
That's
what the
correct.
priorities are.
Yeah, so
And we're
that number is
not
also
there yet.
important for us because we have 72% of interest and Westland had 28% of interest. Obviously, we want to capture as much as we can, but that number has particular meaning when it comes to the water master accounting.
Heather, do you have any comments?
I have a question for Tom. So for the, people again who don't live and breathe all of this stuff, you would look at this sheet and it would seem obvious that, perhaps what is currently ranked as 4, Plunge Creek Recharge Basins, ultimate construction, $8 million, you get 3,656 acre feet. So I'm sure there are other factors in the giant spreadsheet that you talked about that go into that code. So can you just talk a little bit about some of the different variables that influence the ranking of these findings, just so that everyone can kind of understand it's not just dollar per acre foot gained?
Correct. So if you look at the first aspect of the evaluation, and go back to the list, which was the groundwater recharge aspect. So that was pretty much quantifying what additional groundwater we could recharge. That has a lot of factors in it that came through the geotechnical. What is the permeability in the area? What is the the ability to move water in that location? As we look at the cost aspects, one of them was the maintenance activities. So if you're in a watershed that tends to have a lot more sediment that comes down, Oak Creek, for instance, maintenance activities may be a lot more because of the sediment that happens. So that maintenance was a big cost aspect for operations. Other technical aspects would be the environmental component. Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be more costly to meet the environmental constraints that may be projected on the project? That was kind of one of the things that always had to be looked at. The other technical aspects was, who are the agencies that we're having to work with, and what is their flexibility in wanting to be able to cooperate and allow us to do those activities in those basins. Some of the other social aspects that were kind of looked at is where were they located? Were they going to be, activities that were dangerous for other people to be around? Could they be, what kind of security measures would we need to put in place in all of these different factors that we were going to do? And then, of course, the legal aspects, which will relay back down to the water rights and purchases of properties and things like that. So there were probably, with the 6 aspects or 5 aspects we had, there were probably like 3, maybe 4 sub-accounts or sub-aspects that we would look at in each one of those that then eventually rolled up to it.
I would, in looking at this chart, I obviously don't understand it because it looks like there are other options that are better than Oak Crest Recharge, which is number 1. But I'm looking at it from somebody who's not educated about this at all. And I have to depend on, that's why we hire the professionals that we do to try to make us look good. And sometimes it's impossible for them to make us look good, but they try.
So, we could, obviously, when we go back and look at all of the evaluations under the multiple account analysis that was done. We could spend quite a bit of time just going through all of it. And yes, we might have difference of opinions on that, on some aspects and whether or not that tweaks. But I think at the end of the day, it kind of gave us the relativity, which is really what we're trying to look for between the projects, how they fare relative to each other with the projects that we've decided to evaluate. There could be other ones out there, but these were the 10 alternatives, the 3 watersheds, the 6 different locations that were picked to be able to evaluate. So that would be another probably single presentation on how do we arrive to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, I don't want everybody to hang their hat. This is the first one we're going to do. This is the second one we're going to do. This is the third one. These are relative rankings. Now we have to go back in and decide what is our priority. What is our priority? Knowing that we say we're going to take number 4 and move it as our highest priority. What are the difficulties that we're going to run into on that project? Or what are the eases that we can run into on that project? And that's what the technical data provides the next team and the next step in the process on what we're going to do. So.
Okay. Well, we certainly depend on our staff and our experts to come up with these, and it would need, I'd need some significant study time with somebody that was a lot smarter about this than me.
Sure.
To understand it.
Sure.
So I
Okay.
appreciate all the work that's been done. And I certainly, like I say, we depend on experts like you and the ones on our staff to make these recommendations. Did you have something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I sure do. Thank you. As soon as I'm recognized.
Hmm?
As soon as I'm recognized. Are you ready? I didn't know if you were done.
No. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. Thank you for your presentation, sir. I want to go back to your PERC agreements. So since you've given us the history, let's talk about it. It looks like the agreement with flood control was about, getting permission from them or working collaboratively with them. And the only other agreements in here that involved any type of financial agreement was the one with Valley District. So my question is, in terms of your looking at infrastructure projects, how are we going to pay for these things?
So I'll take the first shot unless you want to staff or Cindy, you sir? I left my wallet in the car, by the way.
Cindy.
It will be, so a good portion, I mean, a lot of the steady work and a lot of the work that's going to be done, which is the prepayment of the 36 million, will be utilized to help get some of these projects done. I'll leave it up to Betsy and the staff to decide how that works out. But then the next level would be what agencies benefit the most.
So let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
So it's on the record. We've had retail agencies. They come in and they talk about the metaphor that they use is straws in the basin.
Yeah.
And they say we all have our straws in the basin. And I love it because that's addresses what you just mentioned.
Right.
There's a lot of retail agencies, a lot of agencies that have their straws in the basin. So are we thinking that everyone should pay for these things? I'm just a question.
Tom,
That's a
would you like
policy.
me to jump in?
I would love you to jump on that one.
Come on, Tom.
Policymakers.
Come on, Tom. Tell us what you think.
Betsy and perhaps President McDonald could also speak to this. So that is one of the fundamental challenges of this project. And also the other handful of what we still call active recharge projects that we are going to lead the design of on the western side within our service area outside of Conservation District's area. That the vision of the boards of the past was that we had an opportunity in the 90s to get the water right. First time ever a basin had been reopened, went after it, got the water rights. Now we need to perfect it. At that time, 20, 30 years ago, we're not counting anymore. There wasn't really a discussion of how we're going to pay for it, especially no consideration of the fact that San Bernardino Valley, although we were established to provide a supplemental water supply for the people in the basin, does not have a funding mechanism to do so. So back when the people, as Director Keelhold mentioned, the people before us who put this groundwork in place, and then over the decades, as we have made forward progress, we are now at that point where these projects are becoming real. And now we have, real numbers associated with them. And we do have to have the hard conversation of how do we as a region pay for them. San Bernardino Valley was able to fund Enhanced Recharge Phase 1B, which was a huge investment by this agency in order to facilitate groundwater recharge. But, as anyone who's watched our general fund budget process, we don't have $371 million in our general fund reserves to build all of these projects, much less the other projects. Also, San Bernardino Valley does not actually use the water, as the Conservation District doesn't use the water. We facilitate recharge and management of a groundwater basin that 800 or so wells depend on in order to maintain production and what I would consider economical production, meaning they don't have to drill deeper wells or pay more for the electricity to bring it from lower and lower groundwater levels. So that's where we are right now. And you raise a great point. Who's going to pay for this? We can't get $371 million in grant money. We'll get as much as we can. But it will come down to the leadership in this region to really make some hard discussions and hard, I would say, decisions on what are we going to do for future generations. We're not building these facilities for ourselves. These facilities will probably take 20 years to build, maybe even 30 years to build. And so our two agencies especially, but also the boards of the retail agencies who pump water out of this groundwater basin and the sub-basins, need to decide what part of this effort, this generational effort, do they want to be part of? Do they want to support? Do they want to invest the financial resources in order to do? I would argue that we had a very good structure in place before. It was not perfect, but it worked for a lot of the reasons that we needed to pursue this conversation in the Groundwater Council. So I hope that we will have these conversations through the basin optimization effort that will open up these dialogues about how are we going to pay for groundwater management and groundwater replenishment within our region? Because as Tom said, and as Mike said, actually, we're not putting the ground in the water for this year. We're putting the ground in the water for 5 years, 10 years, 11 years from now when we have a drought. So we all have to collectively figure out how to pay for it in a fair and equitable way throughout the entire region. Because again, groundwater doesn't really respect the boundary on our map that we drew. Wildfire and sediment flows don't respect those things. We have to look at ourselves as a collective whole with a responsibility to future generations to maintain the groundwater basin in a way that will perform over decades, 50 years, 100 years. And that most fundamental question is, how do we pay for it? And it cannot be the obligation of one agency. We invested $36 million with the Conservation District to get the projects going, to get some traction, to start making efforts towards this goal that we have. But at some point, the rubber is going to hit the road, as they say, and we're going to have to figure out how do the agencies and the people that benefit from this recharge, all the recharge efforts that we've talked about and future recharge, how do we collectively contribute to that success? So that's where I stand. I would say President McDonald or Betsy, if you have additional thoughts on that, because I know that, we've had many discussions and it's something that I think that, to be honest, these two agencies are going to lead.
I would just say that through our groundwater charge, we do have the capacity to recover costs associated with maintaining basins that are currently built. That's how we maintain and operate the basins that were discussed during Mike's presentation. And that applies to new basins that are built within our boundary as well. So we are discussing, the big question is building new basins if our boards decide to move forward with these projects.
I'm going to continue, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Heather. Thank you for that, Betsy. So here's my point. My whole point is that I think cost has to be something that we all work together. Our two agencies work together famously, I think. And today we've had some great reports. So that's been reported on and it's been demonstrated. But I think that that costs is something that we have to talk about also, and that's why I brought it up. I was at that meeting when the Groundwater Council went sideways, and it was because of costs and who was fairness. And so I think that these are great things that we're talking about, and they're a needed infrastructure that we have to depend on for the future. But we need to talk about costs, and it can't all be on Valley District. I think it has to be some creative financing, some creative ways to bring people to the table. And I just think that today's discussion could not be absent that. And that's why I brought it up. So I just wanted to make certain that we're having a robust discussion, and hopefully in the future, we continue to look at ways to really, I've talked to our engineers. We've had a lot of wet years, the last few years, and we don't have, maybe the infrastructure or the recharge basins that we need. But what happens if we invest $300 million in recharge basins and then we go back to a 20-year, 30-year drought? Those are some of the things that have been mentioned to me, that we may make these large investments and then it doesn't rain. So there's just a lot of things to consider. And I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But that doesn't mean that we can't plan. And that's what today for me represents. And I salute the good work. Sir, thank you so much. I'm very impressed with your presentation. It's amazing. But I think that realistically, we have to always talk about costs and how it's going to be equitable throughout this watershed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Gil. I agree with that. First of all, I do want to also comment on what Gil said. Tom, there's a lot of work in here, obviously, to put all this together, and you and all the members of the committee and our two districts have done a lot to put this together. I don't know who all was involved, but there's a lot of work. I am looking at these projects. I just think back, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but in just the last, 3 years or 4 years, we have invested about $160 million between the $50 million pipeline, the $70 million advanced recharge, and the $36 million to the conservation district. That's a lot of money. And that covers quite about at least half of what's here if we were to put it onto this. So I think it's a very real situation. And I really think that financially we have done well, and we have done a significant share of what needs to go out there, and it certainly supports part of the future that we're looking at. We've created Found Water. In a meeting I had yesterday, I learned that Sterling is very close to adding one more facility to their operation where they're going to have the capacity to go up to 10 million. And that's tremendous. And that's Found Water. So, and they can do that because we spent $50 million on a pipeline and some basins. So thank you. Appreciate it.
President Harrison, I just want to do a wrap-up comment of thanks to the Conservation District. I want to highlight the idea and the reality that we are both small agencies, and that we have this huge charge to figure out how do we put infrastructure in place for the future on, with the resources that we have. And I think through both presentations today, what I hope came through is that we do it by working together and by forming partnerships and collaborating with each other and leaning on each other where maybe one is a little bit, thin, that you can use the resources of our engineering department, that we can lean on a trusted handful of consultants, that we can bring in people who tried to retire but couldn't, back to the team. So I think what I got out of today's both presentations is that it's a group of very dedicated people that are trying to move the ball forward in challenging, circumstances and conditions, but that we keep to it. And so I thank the Conservation District very much for all the efforts that you've done on behalf. We wouldn't have been able to do this level of work on our own in the time frame that you did. And so I appreciate the fact that we were able to form this creative partnership and get to this place. It seems like it went by really fast, but I know that's because I wasn't in it every day. But thank you so much for being here today and for also the longstanding partnership.
It's our pleasure.
Through the chair.
Thank you. Yes, Paul.
I think we're at the point where a few agencies have stepped forward to take leadership, and we're getting to the point where we need a broader coalition. And I think it would be good to retool Groundwater Council and come up with the new Groundwater Council for the future.
I think it's something we have to do. I agree with you. I just, there's no way that all of these entities can depend on the two of us to do everything. We don't have that ability, and we don't have that financial ability. Thank you very much, Conservation District, Tom, and all of you. And I think I'd like to take a break right now before we go into our reports, so we can shake some hands and say goodbye. Thank you. All right, we will reconvene. Our crowd has gotten quite a bit smaller since we appreciate everyone being here and being involved in what's going on. Next is our reports. Just lost my glasses. Sorry here. Our state water project report. I assume this will be brought to us by our favorite state water project guy.
Thank you, President Harrison, Vice President Boteo, and members of the board. I am pleased to share with you a kind of an update. My last update on State Water Project was in November, so this will cover both December and January, and January has started off fast and furious. So I'll give you a quick update. So on State Water Project, the first one is the table A allocation remains at 10%. That equates to about 10,260 acre feet of imported water for our service area. San Bernardino staff will be prioritizing direct deliveries until that allocation gets greater than 30%. DWR is coordinating with Reclamation to use a portion of their storage capacity in San Luis Reservoir if needed. San Luis is about 94% full within the State Water Project, and one big storm event could push us over our share of the reservoir, but the CVP, or the Bureau's portion of San Luis Reservoir, they're only using about half of their capacity at the moment. So there's some spare capacity that we can borrow from them in a short period of time, and hopefully not lose any San Luis flows. So that's the near-term projection for San Luis. I think we're going to be okay. And then I know that DWR has a meeting later this month, and they will have a couple in February evaluating if the table A allocation can go up, and fingers crossed that should increase. We've had quite a few storms, as you guys probably are fully aware, in the December timeframe and in early January. So I think that snow base has built, and those reservoirs are fuller than they were when they made the 10% allocation. So I'm very hopeful on that. To switch to the Sites Reservoir project, the Sites Project Authority team is just continuing to work hard on completing the permitting, on the benefits and obligations agreement, on the operations plan, on the state and federal partnership agreements, impact assessment and fees, facility use agreements for both upstream and downstream facilities, and then on a mitigation management approach. I do want to share that I had the opportunity in late December to take the first look at a facility use agreement with both GCID, Glenn-Colusa Irrigation District, and TCCA, which are two existing canals on how we're going to fill sites and also take releases of sites. That agreement was a first draft. I think some of the language can definitely be tightened up, and we provided comments on how to make that agreement a little tighter for us. So a work in progress, and that facility use agreement is something that we have all shared, all the partners shared, needs to be in place, signed, before we can really consider this project to move forward. Because this, as I tell them and reiterate, this is not a reservoir project, this is a water supply project for us. And so that water needs to get to our service area. Also, the site's water right permit.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's what I was.
Site's water right permit is anticipated in February, March. We were thinking that maybe we could get it in January, but the state board is continuing to kind of evaluate things internally. And so we have been scheduled, or we're on the schedule, Sites water right is on the schedule for February. And hopefully we'll get it then, but it might bleed into March. So that's another item that needs to be in place before we can really consider this project, is to know the water right associated with sites. But both sides have made our cases, and it's with the state board doing the evaluation.
Are you leaving sites?
Me?
Before you leave sites, before you move on to another subject.
Yes. No, I still have one more slide on sites.
Thank you.
Yes. So last Friday, I had the opportunity to be at the Sites Project Authority meeting, and we collectively decided to move forward with Bernard Construction to be the construction manager at risk, or CMAR, for the construction of the site's dams, roadways, and bridge. And if you recall correctly, late this summer and in the fall, when was on that panel that evaluated the different proposals, made that selection. They are a company that has a lot of experience with dams, and if you just look at their resume, this is what they do. This is their line of business. You might also recall that they do not have a master labor agreement with some of the unions. They were proposing to have a project labor agreement. And so we did have some public comment over the past couple months. We have received a bunch of letters, and they sent that all the project partners. And then they have been showing up in force with a lot of people at the Sites Project Authority, kind of really encouraging that that the union contractors be considered and make sure that they are part of this project. And so before the decision to move forward with Bernard, there was first of all, there was about an hour of comments from the Carpenters Union. And then from there, the Sites Project Authority Board really brought Bernard up and the union up and basically said, before we move forward, before we make this decision, we want to understand that you guys will enter in, you, and not only you, but all your subcontractors will also enter into this project labor agreement with the unions. There's some terms they need to work out. And so what we ask is they do that as quickly as they can. They both confirmed verbally that they think that can be done in the next 30 days. And so hopefully that does go well, and that PLA will be in place, and then they can really start moving forward from there. One thing I want to be really clear about is that, we have been funding sites through past board action, and then that gives us budget through the end of 26. But really moving into 27, we need to start talking about moving forward. And this will be the project authorization to move forward. And so although we hired Bernard, the construction manager at risk, that contract ultimately is for $3 billion. They are only authorized to spend $1 million between now and the end of the year to complete both design and schedule review, participate in local community meetings, and support the sites team. And that's part of the existing budget. So if we do not get full participation in sites, this contract will be on hold until the funding is in place. So although we let a very large contract, they only have one element they can work on at the moment until all of the project participants agree to the next tranche of funding, which will be for the construction of the project. Questions before I move on?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's included in the $3 billion?
It will be 2 dams, 7 coffer dams.
Does that mean that we are purchasing those dams?
They will construct them
Yes.
upon project participation later this year. So once we take that final vote and everybody locks in their percentage of the project, this will be the contractor that will build the dams following approval by all our home boards.
So is the $3 billion just for their work, or is it for the materials to create the dams?
Both.
Okay.
All costs,
Everything.
labor, material.
Okay, so this is just not an employment contract. This is a construction contract.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
And again-
That's a big difference. Thank you.
Yes. And again, it's going to be the 2 major dams, 7 coffer dams, all the roadway infrastructure to move in and out of sites. As you guys well know, the existing roads cannot support this level of
right.
construction.
That's for sure.
And so there will be these new roads that is all within their package. And then we need to build the bridge that will go across the new Sites Valley, or then the
Right.
reservoir across
Right.
Sites Valley, and that is within their contract as well. So
Really?
yes, so it's a
Okay.
bridge,
So this is a major segment of the total dam cost then.
of the total project cost, it's over 50%.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
The next package that they're working on, just putting it together, is going to be the conveyance infrastructure. And so there will be some pump stations, and then there'll be some segments of pipeline to connect to the existing canals.
Okay,
And so that will be a separate package that will go out to a competitive bid, bring that in, and that will be a little less than $3 billion, but still in the $2 billion range.
Gil.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So what, you have an update on land acquisition?
Land acquisition, no additional purchases in the last 2 months. I know that they are talking to additional people. One of the things actually on land that we're working on right now is we're trying to get some early access to do environmental surveys. And so we're starting to work with landowners to gain that access. And so that's kind of what they're doing with land right now, because there's no more money in the existing budget through 2026 to make any additional land purchases. So the additional land purchase will occur after investor commitment.
Yeah, so that was my final question is investor commitment. That seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. Shouldn't all that have been figured out? The investor commitment before we,
are doing this. Yeah, it is a chicken and
Just
egg
wait.
thing. Yeah. And so it's one of these things that the Sites Project Authority we're really trying to be ready to hit the ground running post investor commitment. So they're standing a lot of things up in anticipation of investor commitment. And then once we get that authorization from all the home boards, the pieces
so they
will be
don't
in place.
they don't anticipate any snags. So
That's correct.
okay,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
great, thank you.
And I'll just add a little context. So the current, what I'll call the original investors, we've been steadfastly moving forward. What they're trying to finalize is approximately how much is the Bureau of Reclamation share, approximately how much is the state's share. And then each other investor will finalize their number based on whatever it is that their board approves as their final investment. If people start maybe dropping down a little bit, then they will go to the waiting list. So there's actually a waiting list of investors.
Right.
I've also heard that there's other entities who want to invest more than they currently have on their line item. So there will be probably what I would consider a shuffling of final investment numbers. And that's when each of us will go to our home boards, and those boards will lock in what your final investment percentage is, which will get carried forward. So that'll be done at probably the end of this year.
And as a reminder, the Bureau of Reclamation is a currently 9% share. They are interested to going to 16%. So they're starting to work with some of the CVP contractors to work with them to readjust the percent share in the project.
Mm.
So, and then after Bureau gets to 16%, then that we have a wait list of, I believe, close to 20 agencies that would all then, there's a list in kind of chronological order. And so they would start going down that list on additional project participation.
Okay.
Very exciting. Again, continuing to take very large steps forward on the Sites project.
Okay, just another question on the water rights. I'm hearing some rumblings about that, and I'm just wondering if these are just naysayers or there are any concerns about the water rights decision.
Very hard to tell. You don't know, really where that state board final decision is, but everything I'm hearing is positive. It's good. It's really coming down to what is that final number. And so, we have requested a certain number. We are hoping this, we've made the case to hold that certain number. But, opponents have brought other items and things to think about for the state board. So personally, maybe I'm too close to it, but personally, we will get a water right for Sites. For me, it's, will it be the number we requested? And so I think we did a great job through the hearing. A lot of expert witnesses really building the case that this is extra water, that, we are only going to be scalping water in the wettest times, that we will respect CVP prior water rights. We will, protect state water project water rights. We will protect the environment in the Delta. The delta has to be in excess conditions before we divert. So if it's in balanced conditions or in a deficit, sites permit will not allow us to divert. So, this is a wet gear scalping project, and we are recognizing all those on the Sacramento River with prior rights. So I think we took a very good, strong approach with trying to, with our application. So I'm positive about it. The Sites Project Authority is positive about it. So I think it's really about fine tuning that final number, and hopefully it's the number we request or very close to that number.
Bottom line is what goes into sites is the water that gets spilled out from underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's right.
And that's it.
That's right. And so we're trying to scalp that water that right now
Is wasted.
Yeah, is wasted and not going to beneficial use. And we're trying to find a home for that water. My last slide is on the Delta Conveyance Project. Another water rights before the state board. They are very busy these days. And this one's called Change Appointed Diversion, or CPOD. It is ongoing. It's it's been going for a few months, but it's going to take a longer process. And so that new permit is anticipated in late 2027. The DCA is continuing to progress the design from 10% to 20% and is evaluating design enhancements and improving constructability. I'd like to share that I have had the opportunity to be part of a 4-day workshop, which they're calling Basis of Design Report. And we're really doing a deep dive on the intake facilities, the tunnel, the pumping plant to get into the Bethany Reservoir, and then the outlet structure into Bethany Reservoir. And so we're looking at every element. How can we reduce concrete? How can we reduce earthwork? All these type of things at this level, so that when it moves to the 30%, 60%, 90%, it will be as a cost-effective project as possible. Two court-related items related to the DCP. The first one is that, if you remember, we got an injunction to stop the geotech investigation. The appellate court is starting to, has made a few rulings that is going to lead us to a confirmation that we can resume geotechnical and overturn that previous injunction. So we're hoping this fall, potentially, we can get back out there and start doing some geotech investigation, which again will lead back to the design progression and allow us to understand those soil conditions, so that then the design of concrete, the tunnel, everything else can be further refined. And then lastly, the court recently found that the first validation case, so DWR went with a dual approach on validation. They started one case, wanted to make sure that it was going to be successful, so they started a second case. My understanding is that they only have to be successful on one of the cases to prove out validation. What the court just ruled is that the first case, we received a setback. The judge is saying that was overly broad description of the project, and so it's prohibiting the authorization of borrowing money for DWR to borrow money on the DCP. That said, we do have the second case in the works, and so we're learning from what the judge and the court wanted, and so we're going to continue to try and add additional detail into the second case to hopefully be successful there. But this is a critical piece. It's very important. This is how DWR will have authorization to borrow money to invest in the DCP. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Right. And this case is clearly, the one that opponents in the Delta are celebrating, are raising money to continue to fight.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We will face headwinds.
We knew
Yes.
it was gonna be ongoing.
Yes, this project will probably face headwinds the majority of the project, if not the entire length of the project. So this was our first kind of retooling as we move forward.
Do you have anything else, Mrs. Longbill?
No.
Okay. Gail or Jose? No? Bill?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Always fascinating to hear your reports. So we'll move on to our director's reports, and we'll start with you, Susan, if you don't mind.
Okay. In addition to meetings that I attended, that were, the directors were encouraged to attend. I did attend a California Natural Resources webinar on looking at the co-location of solar with groundwater recharge in various locations throughout the state that's being studied, which, certainly could be of value to us. And also that was on the 7th of January. And on the 9th, the League of Women Voters Water Committee met. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is just since our last meeting on January 6th.
Yes. Thank you, sir. On the 12th, there was a webinar from the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. Attended that, and then on the 19th, which was yesterday, San Bernardino city of San Bernardino had a MLK parade and extravaganza. I popped in there, and that's all. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. On the 7th of January, I attended the Loma Linda Chamber of Commerce meeting. And then on the 9th, the Redlands Chamber of Commerce. And then on last evening, I attended the Association of San Bernardino County Special Districts Board meeting. And also yesterday, I had lunch with the president of East Valley Water District. And that's all I have. Jose.
I have no activity to report.
Okay, all right. And if Paul had some, he can do them next time. Thank you. Oh, good. It's time for our general counsel.
No report today, Mr. President.
So disappointed. You don't have reports. Thank you, Brad. Any ad hoc or standing committee reports? No? Okay. SAPA definitely met today.
We had our meeting this morning, and the commission recognized the following employees for their years of service. Ms. Emily Fuentes, 1 year, Siobhan Turner, 1 year, Danielle Vasquez, 3 years, and Brian Henderson, 5 years. And I'm going to turn it back to our president to talk about Haley's recognition.
Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you. They've started something new this year, and that's to recognize an employee of the year. And the gal that was recognized today is Haley Gohari. And I was on the commission when Haley started to work at SAPA. She was a receptionist, just fresh out of school and just working as hard as she could to learn what was going on and very aggressively took various certification courses and enhanced her education the entire 7 years that she's been there. And just a great gal. And she was honored today as the Employee of the Year, and several plaques and so forth that her name will be on and that she got to take home, and along with an envelope with $1,500 in it. So, and she's just a sweetheart and has worked so hard, so diligently to make herself more and more valuable to the organization. And that's what it's all about. And she certainly deserved the commendation that she received today.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Gil. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll continue. The commission authorized the general manager to execute a 5-year fixed cost on-base subscription agreement and task order with Blue Iris Q, a division of Konica Minolta Business Solutions USA for $194,264.89. And finally, we had a receive and file update on the Santa Ana River Watershed Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan. That's coming along very nicely, by the way. And one of the things I like, and Haley is the one who's leading the effort on that, is they really have collated and collected information from all of not just our member agencies, but agencies in the watershed that have already done plans and really coming up with something that's going to be amazing. So thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much. Treasurer's report. Susan.
I examined the documents that Cindy provides, and I asked the board to approve the expenditures, which you'll find on page 29. But obviously, what jumped out at me and I didn't understand because it's never happened in my 11 years on the board, is the general fund current month expenditure of $50 million, over 50 million. And Cindy explained it to me, and she knows that I'm asking her to give a brief explanation to the members of the board.
Thank you. That would be nice to hear.
Thank you, Director Longville. Yes, this item in 2023, we did start the Enhanced Recharge 1B project, and we took out a loan for the WIFIA loan. But in anticipation of drawing on that WIFIA loan, we also issued short-term notes. So we didn't draw on the WIFIA loan yet. We issued short-term notes. And those short-term notes were for $46.9 million. Those matured in January of 2026. So we drew on the WIFIA loan in November. We got those funds and we paid off the short-term notes. So you see it as a disbursement in this current month in December because we paid off those almost $47 million in short-term notes. So now we are the proud owner of the WIFIA loan. So anyways, I'll be happy to go into more details, but that's why it's a large. I just didn't want you to think we added an extra digit there on that $50 million numbers.
So I'd like to recommend that the board approve the cash disbursements for the month of December 2025 for the following funds: the general, the State Water Contract Fund, $3,017,135.58, and the general fund for $50,328,658.56.05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you want to say anything, Heather?
No, that's probably the last time I'm going to see a number that big for the general fund.
Okay. Thank you.
It proves its value.
We have a motion and second. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Let the record reflect Director Keelholder is not present for roll call. Director Velasquez,
Yes.
Director Longville, Vice President Mateo,
Yes.
and President Harrison.
Yes,
The December Treasurer's Report has been approved.
thank you very much. All right, next is our water delivery report. Oh, and Sayers here.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you, President Harrison. For the water delivery report, finishing out December, you have already seen these numbers thanks to Mike Esker's wonderful presentation earlier. Closing out State Water Project in 2025 was 62,787 acre feet. Baseline feeder wells did 262 acre feet in December, and Santa Ana River diversions for us were 0 acre feet, as that is still with Water Conservation District. For December, we finished out direct deliveries at 88% to the operating plan. For recharge deliveries, 97% to the operating plan. And for a 2026 outlook, retail agencies have submitted orders for 2026. The preliminary allocation from DWR for state water projects still stands at 10%, as Michael Plinsky already discussed. And again, this is expected to increase. San Bernardino Valley Water Resources staff will host a meeting with the retail agencies in March of 2026 to discuss the operating plan for orders and allocations. And Water Resources staff are still reconciling accounts with DWR before finalizing our total carryover into 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we'll move ahead to our general manager's report, our CEO's report. I found on page 42 in our agenda packet.
Thank you so much. I think in the interest of time, I will just remind everyone that the general manager's report was quite short this month, and it was on page 42 of the agenda packet. I will just highlight that on Monday, January 26th, I will be sitting on a panel with several people from all over California, including the Deputy Director of Department of Water Resources, Joel Metzger, and we will be at the California Irrigation Institute Water Policy Conference, speaking about the many challenges from all over the state in terms of water supply planning, from the mountainous headwaters area of Yuba agency all the way down here in Southern California, in an area that does both agriculture and urban water supply. So that'll be a great panel that I'm looking forward to. And then on February 19th in the morning, I will be speaking on a panel at the American Groundwater Trust Conference. And then in the afternoon, as the keynote at the Santa Ana River Science Symposium at ESRI or ESRI. So we have a busy month coming up, but we look forward to all of these activities, and I will wrap that up for this month. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. Is there any future business from any of you? Hearing none, we'll move into announcements.
Mr. President and members of the board, as we close out the month of January and we get into February, we have all regularly scheduled meetings. As we come up into February and we ramp up, I just want to highlight three items. On February 16th, the agency will be closed due to a federal holiday. The 18th, we will be conducting a WIFIA meeting. I will send out a notice on that to all agencies involved. And the following day, as Heather mentioned, we have the Santa River Science and Conservation Symposium at ESRI. Pending any questions for the board, that's it for announcements.
All right. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move ahead in our agenda to our closed session that we will be having today. And we ask our attorney to make the announcement to take us into closed session, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will be going into closed session today pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B regarding threat to public services or facilities construction. We do not expect any reportable action for those of you who wanted to hang around.
All right. Thank you. Oh, yeah. We need to We had a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff today. Oh. Shoot. We're all here. All right. I've called to order again the Board of Directors of the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District. Mr. Council, would you?
As predicted, there was no reportable action from closed session.
And there being no reportable action, we are adjourned. Thank you all.